Alrighty, I'd like to welcome everybody to our June 22nd, 2023 Fiscal Court meeting. At this time, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, at this time I'd like to open our work session up, and is there any public comments? If so, please come to the podium. Seeing none, I want to make an announcement before we really get going. So Andrew's been working on our microphones, so if y'all notice we added two, they're still off and on, so red is on, red off. I would just maybe leave them on unless y'all need to talk privately.
JW needs them.
Yeah. Our clerk got a microphone too, so you all could hear her, because I know sometimes she's asked questions. So hopefully that will help everybody watching that can hear. So first up is our Franklin County Health Department.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So
welcome.
I'm Judy Mattingly, the Director of the Franklin County Health Department, and I'm just here to present our standard contract for health services, which comes in kind of an a la carte menu. And by and far, the largest menu item utilized by Fiscal Court is the comprehensive physical exams, which includes everything that the firefighters need for their physical, which I believe is every other year. And the other most commonly used item by Fiscal Court is the TB skin testing. And the rates for either the comprehensive physical exam and the TB skin testing stayed the same. They've not changed for several years now. And so the total not to exceed amount in the contract is $12,000 currently, based on the invoices from this current fiscal year. And we would always be happy to amend that at any time, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the contract.
So just to bring everybody up to speed, because I know we tabled this last court. I think there was a discrepancy, and we talked about this in a committee the other day. I believe on the paperwork from last week, the budget number was $6,000, and our actual from last year was $11,270. I believe something like that. If somebody on the committee wants to correct me, but I think that's
You were exactly correct.
Wow, that's pretty good memory. That's why the budget was set at $12,000. So I think, to Judy's point, when they send these out to other organizations, the kind of fillable number is always 6,000. So that was kind of, I think, just something that was overlooked.
Yes, we apologize for that. We keep it 6,000 for almost every agency,
Yep.
but with your firefighters, you all are a little bit higher.
Yep. So I think there was a lot of concern from the court because it looked like it was doubling, and that's why we tabled it. So if anybody has any questions for Judy, please ask. Squire Sebastian.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
Microphone, please. Thank you. We get in trouble. I'm trying to keep everybody good.
I
Yeah,
use
you're
them
good.
so much, I know what to do, I think.
You got it.
And this may be a question for you. It also may involve Chief Brewer. So just, you said the physicals are every other year?
I think that's correct.
In the past, we've kind of done them every other year. We're trying to work towards getting them every year, trying to put the health and physicals more of a top priority. But just for budgetary purposes, the way we've tried to work it in, it's typically fallen every other year in the past.
Okay, so in the grand scheme of what we're looking at today, the 12,000 in that line item, would that include the physicals, or are we a year away from that?
My goal would be to be able to do the physicals next spring.
Okay, so that would be in this budget year, that'd be in
Correct.
'24. All right, and so when that line item was shared with us when we talked about the budget, that we've prepared for that, is that correct?
Yes.
Whether it's in this line item or whether it's in your line item?
Yes, we have a line item that it comes out of on ours for our firefighter physicals.
Okay, I'm just being sure that we've prepared and we're not coming back later on. All right,
And that number, I think $11,250 is what the firefighter physicals cost us this past year.
all right, thank you. Thank you very much, thank you both.
Thank you.
Any other questions from Ms. Judy Mattingly from the court?
Let me ask one more follow-up question, just to be 100% sure. Did I understand you, Chief, to say that was going to be for half, or that's all? Or we're going to do half every other year? So we're doing half one year, half the next?
We do them all, when we do them, we do them all, we do the whole department.
Okay.
Now, if we have a new hire that has just went through physical, we will help them out and not send them through it.
Sure.
You know, duplication of services there, but.
Absolutely.
But when we do them, we put the whole department through them.
Okay, thank you. I just making sure I understood what I heard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other questions? Judy, thank you for coming, and thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay, thanks. Oh, they didn't tell you have to stay till the end?
You want me to? I can.
She was out of here pretty quick, wasn't she? She's like, I'm going. Yeah, no, good.
Thank you. If you need
Yeah.
anything, you know how to reach me.
Yeah, thank you. Squire Sebastian?
Judge, let me ask you this, Judy?
Ah,
Do you mind?
you weren't quick enough.
Maybe
Just-
I will stay all night.
With, last night was an event, the longest day of play, and I'm
Yes.
sure there are going to be a number of folks that probably talk about that, but the health department had a presence.
Yes.
You had a couple of tents there. So is there anything that you might highlight in regard to how that impacts the community and the outreach for that?
Oh, definitely. Thank you
Because
for
the fire
asking.
department, we'll get a chance to talk about it, and others, sheriff's department and others.
Yes, it takes the whole community to make the longest day of play happen, all of our partners, and it is really to highlight and encourage physical activity and to show, you know, especially our youth, that there are multiple different avenues of physical activity that doesn't have to be considered exercise, that it can just be fun things that we go out and do as families or with our friends. And so this has been going on since 2006, I think. It's been going on for a long time. I think we're one of the longest standing communities to keep hosting Longest Day of Play, and we are so thankful for all of our partners. We've had it at Lakeview Park. It's been the past couple years at Juniper Hills, and a huge kudos to the Kiwanis for taking over the big heavy lift of getting that organized.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Because that
you.
was one thing that you all had organized early on, and it transitioned to another group, and it has just continued to grow based on the foundation that you all set.
Well, and that is the best thing for a project to be grassroots and to get the whole community behind it. That's what we always hope for.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you all. Thank you again.
All righty, so now we're going to move on to the admin code. So this is something I don't think this court's really talked about much. I know by law we have to talk about it in the month of June, but we do have changes that want to be made that will hopefully go to, the Administrative Services Committee. But we're welcome to talk about it tonight. We'd like to kind of hear if you all have anything that's kind of, after looking over it, if you have things that you want to talk about or get on a list as far as that we need to look at moving forward, just open it up to the body now. Yes.
Yeah, I have something I've been wanting to address for several years on meeting times.
Okay.
And we can get that to the committee. I just think it's important that the community be able to be involved and be at our meetings like they can tonight. We had, I think, half of them at 9 or 10 in the morning, and a lot of people can't be here. So I like how the city does that part of their deal where they meet in the evenings. So that's something I want to address, and I'll put a draft that I've got written up
Okay,
towards the committee.
perfect. Thank you, Squire. Squire Tanner. Nice job.
Push
Now it's on. Oh, now it's off.
You're good. Back up your man. I can't see the red light.
That's all right. There you go.
There is an addition I'd like to make on it, and some other areas that need some clarification, and maybe we can eliminate some duplications that's in there. And it's very lengthy code. It's many pages and a lot of words that don't need to even be in there, in my opinion. And that is my opinion, and the committee needs to address that, and it can't do it all. It takes time. You just can't scan it and then decide. You gotta digest it. But I would like one section added at the end where the county judge and say 5 members of fiscal court could suspend the rules on one section and one time each time. You couldn't suspend it forever, just to deal with some kind of pertinent question that needed expediting. Then that time might come up from time to time. I think the planning commission just suspended their rules the other day to do away with a hearing, I believe. So you need that option, and if we put it in, it's our ordinance, we ought to be able to put that in there It's not state law, but it's our law.
So would you mind maybe drafting a paragraph of what you were thinking and
I got a
submitting
draft,
it?
but it's got 2 misspelled words in it, so I gotta fix it.
I got to see that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yep. Squire Wisman?
I was just wondering if we would like to set maybe a time frame for all of us to submit changes before our next meeting, perhaps, for the committee to review, or by the end of,
I would say in the next 2
Something.
meetings, let's say a month, because
By
it
the
is
end of July.
lengthy. Yeah, if that's okay with everybody, and then we'll get it scheduled. Is that okay for everybody? And don't forget, the admin code, we can look at it any time throughout the year. So it's not just right now, or we have to wait another year. So we can, if after changes are turned in, if you see something else you want to change or think of, you bring it to the court, and we'll talk about it and go with it. So,
Well, that would be your prerogative after June.
correct. So that's fine. We're all here to work together, you know that, so.
I don't doubt that.
Any other thoughts? Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I know I sat in a committee meeting and one particular item came up that kind of prompted, I guess, a little bit of work to start on this process. So because the code is extremely lengthy, and I have a number of, I think, 15 pages worth of changes that the past administration didn't want to look at. So I'm kind of anxious to get in there and I guess address some of these things that those who have looked at it and those on this court who have looked at it that find things that are incongruous. You know, they're pointing at each other, telling you to do different things, and some cleanup of things. For example, some of the statutes that are written in there no longer even exist. So there are just some cleanup items, obviously, and then some substantive things. And it's because it is so lengthy, maybe we discuss in committee how we kind of try to break that down to make it manageable to get through, because it's 100-plus pages, and certainly everybody wants to do it right. So maybe some of that will come out of when the committee gets together and starts fielding things from this body as to what you all want to look at and how you want to address it. So just food for thought.
No, absolutely. And to kind of piggyback on Squire Tanner, Squire Sebastian, one of the things we talked about, is it too lengthy? Does it hand tie? And so I've reached out to a couple other counties to see if they would be interested in sharing their admin code, just to kind of compare before we dive into it. Someone else might have something that is a little bit easier for us to tweak instead of going through the 100 or 120 pages, to Squire Sebastian's point. So I'm waiting on those, but I have requested it from 2 of my colleagues that said they would share theirs with us. So, Squire Black.
When will the committee be meeting to look at the changes, or are we just going to do it in open court?
The committee, I don't know, we don't have a committee set for that, do we?
We don't have to schedule it yet, but it'll meet within the next week to 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was the next 2 weeks.
The admin committee, or the administrative services committee, generally meets at least once a month, but with this.
Lately, it's been
being on the
twice a
docket,
month.
It may be twice a month.
Thank you.
Squire Tanner.
I agree. Certainly, we should look at other people's codes. They may have ideas in there that we never have thought of that's pertinent to this county, and sharing ideas is never a bad idea.
Thank you.
I'll mention too, I spoke with the CAECO attorney last week at the conference because it was brought up in one of those committees. And they are working on updating a sample that he thought he would have finished this week, that we can reference, but he referenced that every code is so unique to the community and their own specific challenges county by county that he didn't want to give us anything that was sort of a blanket best principles or anything, but some reference material.
Understandable. Thank you. And I believe Deputy Kennedy just said our next admin code meeting is on July 10th, so it is scheduled. So just, we can keep discussing, or if that's all we're going to discuss for tonight, what we'll do is in voting session, we will, under other business, I will need a motion just to direct the administrative committee to work on the admin code. And then if that's, everybody's in agreement with that, and then we'll go from there. Anything else on the admin code? Squire Tracy?
Quick question on that. I guess when it comes to this code, I understand that the committee will work on it, but everything that's sent to committee will come back out to be voted on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think personally, the best way to do it would be, if we, let's say we use the existing one, would be any changes made will be in red font or something like that. So you can still see the original to see what was changed. I think that's fair. Anything else? Alrighty, moving on. So we'll go to judge's report. A lot going on. On behalf of the Fiscal Court, I was able to, and Squire Sebastian was there also. We went to a nice reception for the community, and where we wanted to welcome the new president of Kentucky State University, Dr. Akakpo. Yeah, I was working on that one too, but I just couldn't get it. Super nice gentleman. His background, I believe, is with the school BCTC in Lexington. He has a lot of experience there. His start date is July 1st, so we welcome him to the community. We've had a lot of committee meetings. I think you all know that. One of the greatest ones, I think, that we're starting to get back on is strategic planning. We have a lot of things going on, and we're trying to really get a hold of, especially with our, we have our jail, our sheriff's department, our fire department, vehicle maintenance, things like that. We're trying to kind of get our head around purchases we're going to need the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, things like that. So we started meeting again with that, and I think it went very well. And we're going to try to, first thing we're going to start working on is vehicles and equipment and things like that. So we're going to try to figure out what we have and what's going to need to be replaced. And, fire department, I believe they're on the schedule tonight to talk about a fire truck, which, as you can imagine, is not an inexpensive thing. They're very high maintenance over there at the fire department. And, but anyways, yeah, so that's been great. I attended the Rotary's luncheon on the 21st. We want to congratulate Tish Shade for becoming the new president of Rotary. I know she has big plans and is going to do great things for our community on behalf of the Rotary. Spent a lot of time with Robert Hewitt, our planning and zoning director. We're actually currently looking at all of our zoning, fees, permits, licensing. I know he's had Tina, I believe, working on that, trying to figure out, because it's been so many years since we've looked at things, so we're looking at surrounding counties to make sure we're charging the right amount and things like that. So that's something we've been looking at. The Comp Plan Advisory Committee has been meeting about the future land use map. I believe they're meeting about every 2 weeks. I think that's going pretty well from what I'm hearing from the public. We have also, as a Fiscal Court, been invited to go, the new Humane Society has opened just the other day. So I know the 2 dates that I talked to Carrie about were July 5th and 7th. So if you haven't talked to Mitzi, we're going to do it in 2 days, obviously, so we don't have a quorum. Isn't that nice? Right? And they want to really show the new facility off. And I believe Squire Sebastian had made comment about last night with the longest day of play, which I can't say enough nice, good things about everything, how well it was. I mean, there was people everywhere. I couldn't believe it. It was a wonderful event. It was a great community event. The Kiwanis did an outstanding job, along with city, county governments. I want to especially thank Squire Sebastian. I know she works hard with the Kiwanis. She was there last night. Sheriff's Department was directing traffic. Fire Department was there, participating, handing things out. I've got a couple of your guys playing with the balloon parachute thing with kids. I thought that was just great. Also, I want to thank especially Mitzi Jevedin and Tina Peck, who did over 60 kid IDs, which is really, really good for the community to have record of those things. So I believe Andrew has some pictures here. There's Mitzi and Tina there, and some other people. So it was a great event. Squire Sebastian, would you like to comment while we're on the subject?
Only to say that the community turnout was tremendous, and it was, great seeing all the community turnout for events. It was great seeing, Yes Arts, and it was great seeing the Simon House was there, and it was great seeing Thornhill there, and the health department, and all these groups, the library. So many groups had booths, and there were a lot of people you'd walk around and go, I didn't know our community did that. I mean, you could hear parents going, I didn't know they could help me with that. I heard that so much last night as I was handing out hot dogs. And you know, there were almost 1,000, between 600 and 1,000 hot dogs put together, and pretty much all of them were gone. And the Kiwanis relocated it from Lakeview Park so that they could work with the city to make the pool available to families and folks thereafter. So it was a great opportunity for kids to go on over after all that and just kind of cool down in the pool. So it was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, we're going to move on to the road department update. I believe Stephen Hawkinsmith is here. Hey, Stephen, welcome.
Thank you. Evening, Court. The last couple of weeks, we've been patching, roadside mowing in the Ball Knob area, and we got our mow trim going. I know Squire Sebastian's excited about that. And we hit Duckers and Country Lane, No Country Lane, South Scruggs. We've had a few animals, chipping, yard waste, and we completed our roadside spraying.
All righty. What questions do we have? Squire Blackburn.
I wanted to ask, I know,
Microphone. Don't get us in trouble, I'm telling you.
The city had a free trash week this week. So I know on the Yard Waste Wednesdays, how did that go yesterday? I know you're keeping numbers.
Yeah, yesterday was a slow day, slowest all year, so we had 10 county, 17 city. Yeah.
Thanks.
What other questions we have for the road department? Stephen, do you have any idea how much, we're probably getting close to looking at the bids, right? Do you have any idea when that RFP is due?
No, not this
Okay.
time.
Yep, so I know we're working on that. Robert, do you remember?
No.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember. We'll hopefully have a date. It should be coming up pretty soon, so, well, good deal. All righty, seeing no further questions. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks.
All righty. Number 2, any questions on the meeting, the special joint meeting on June 6th? Seeing none, anything to talk about on our regular meeting on June 7th?
Judge, there's just one thing that I noticed that just caught me a second ago. Under the second paragraph, it lists all of our names and says absent was, and then it says County Attorney Max Conley was in attendance. It just seems a little, absent was, I just moved to strike those 2 words.
Okay. Did you get that, clerk?
Yeah. 2 or 3.
Thank you.
3.
Anything else? Moving on. Mr. County Attorney, you want to talk about next one? It's about the cold checks.
Yes. So every year we are required to turn over any excess funds, and it's my understanding that my predecessor actually did not get that done last year, and so we submitted the 2 excess funds from code checks to the county's funds, and code checks are somewhat a thing of the past. As at one point in time that was a huge revenue maker, but not many people accept checks anymore. In addition, the check, I guess, agencies that validate checks there at the store, so that's why that amount is not very big.
All righty. Any questions for our county attorney on that? All righty. I'll keep moving. Next, I believe we have our Sheriff's Department here to talk about a really, really cool thing.
Yes. I got retired Frankfort Police Chief Jeff Abrams as our captain over the school program, so I thought it'd be nice if y'all met him if you haven't, and he can answer some of the questions if you haven't. But what happened was we signed a new MOU, and I just wanted y'all to be aware of it, that we're actually going to have a deputy in each campus now, which is great for everyone involved. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. Yes.
How many schools were we covering before?
Last year, we covered 3. We
Covered
went
3.
to 6 this current school year we're in, and now we're going to 13. So it'll be 7 additional deputies.
So we've doubled the last 2 years, and then this covers everything.
Exactly.
So we have an officer at every school.
a lot of progress in a short amount of time, so it's exciting.
It's outstanding. Thank you.
Yes.
I will say, I believe we're the first county in the state to be able to do this. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about some of them, like Fayette County have their own school police, but
Okay.
I know that many do not have this.
Yeah.
You all at least have to ask Jeff one question, because I made him come down here.
Oh, no, we will. We're saving them. So, Squire Sebastian, I think you told me yours was for Captain Abrams, right?
I can make it.
How many you got?
Just one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's his. Come on up.
I hope it's a softball.
No, it's just,
He was
it
just
will
telling
be,
me how
it will
much he
be.
loved city commission meetings when he was the chief.
Yeah. I missed them. I'm glad to be in a public meeting.
I see that. Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My question will be just for either. On page 4, under assignment of school resource officer, it says the SRO salary and benefits are covered for 9 months by the FCPS. And then it says, so my question is the other 3 months, because, we're not going to turn them out at that point, we're going to keep them on staff. How will that other 3 months be covered?
I would have to read it, but the only thing we changed in this MOU was the amount of deputies, and there's a $200 fee per month per deputy. It's a flat rate for like maintenance, uniforms, whatever may come up, so I don't know what that line is, but they pay all year round, so it may be like the teacher salary where they spread it out over time.
I wondered, because the
Yeah.
way this reads, it says an SRO may be hired full-time employee of the office working 9 months and the remainder of the time being a sheriff's deputy, or as a seasonal employee, which is a part-time position, who will work 9 months and then be off 3. So it gives the latitude. I just didn't know the position that the sheriff's office
Right.
wanted to take on this with the extra. That's all.
If you look at the money, it's 800 and whatever's 50,000, I believe it covers them all year round.
Okay.
And what happens, a lot of the deputies work ball games and build up their comp time, so they're off most of the summer. And those that don't can either use vacation, holiday, or even take off that pay. Some of them have done that.
Okay, thank
But-
you. I just wanted to
Good
be
question.
sure how, because it gave the option and it didn't settle on how that would be handled here. But really excited that this is going to be done here. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Sir?
Being in the school all the time, I see what you guys do. And I think the community, in large part, doesn't know what you all do there. They think, oh, we have police in the school for trouble, but there's so much more that you do. Can you touch on a few things, just to kind of let the community know what we're doing in the
Sure.
schools?
So, kind of I guess the mantra of being an SRO is of being a counselor, a coach, a teacher, and a cop. So you kind of have all those roles, and the counselor and role model aspect of it is going to be a big part of what we're going to do now that we're pulling them into the elementary schools. A lot of these kids don't have maybe a strong role model, and they look up to and respect that, that law enforcement role and someone to show them the way to be right, to do right. And so that counselor and role model aspect of it is a big part of it. And, a lot of times, the team that we have currently has knocked it out of the park. They've done a great job. And I asked them all when they came on board to really embrace their assigned schools and to become a part of the team as far as the administration, but also to take ownership in the students. And they have. I mean, I've seen them take them out to lunch when they've, succeeded, on getting through a hurdle or something of that nature. A couple of them donated some time. I mean, they were there in uniform, but the reason they were at a ball game, it wasn't that the game really warranted security, but the students came to them at school and said, hey, I really want you to come watch my game. So they've kind of they've knocked it out of the park. And so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to recruit and get the same quality that we've already got to supplement. And, I think it's a huge asset to the community and the kids. One of the statistics that you look at, there's never been any kind of mass shooting at a school where there was an SRO present. And so, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so if we can prevent something from like that ever happening in our community, and that's
what more could we ask for? Like Mr. Kopp said, when they talked about this at the school board the other night, pretty easy check to write when you think about, what you won't have to deal with as a result of it.
I can't say enough about the folks you've got working in the schools. The community policing aspect of it, where I remember years ago when Officer Moravchik was the first one, there was students going, oh, there's the cops, or whatever. Now it's like, hey, they're a member of the community at school. They see them, they wave to them, they talk to them. Just like you said, it's eating lunch with them. And it doesn't hurt to have that sheriff car out in front of the school so that everybody driving by know that they're there.
Law enforcement's a very small aspect of what we do.
Yeah.
We have the ability to do it. That's the important thing, but it's a small aspect of what we do day in and day out.
I just want to thank you. You guys are doing a tremendous job.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you too, and one of the things that as a therapist I see a lot and I hear a lot is little kids telling me they're afraid of the police because they see the police, take their parents away or take their big brother away or whatever. And so I think one of the really positive things they get from this is seeing that, this guy can be my buddy, can be my friend, and isn't somebody that I need to be afraid of. And so I think that's a wonderful part of this. So I really thank you guys.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a big thing with having these elementaries too, because that impressionable age of 3rd and 4th grade, to have that positive interaction is going to change a whole lot of perspective that they might not have otherwise had, I hope.
Yeah, you're not going to be the bad guys.
Right.
Any other questions? Laura Wissman.
Judge, well, a comment for you, and then I've got a question. I suppose, I thought about this, and I've been sort of critically evaluating in my mind. I remember, I'm a little younger than the rest of the court, and I remember I was in high school when Columbine happened. And that the next day changed everything, and it has not been the same ever since. And I remember the police presence afterwards, and it was not welcomed. Even though that had happened, and there's been a mind shift quite a bit. But I've thought since that time to now that those instances occur often because we have created school districts where kids are more of cattle, and they're not given the one-on-one attention that someone to talk to privately. There's just too many for teachers to handle and budget cuts and things, and I think those kids are often the ones that fall through the cracks, and I think it's a great asset to have yet another person in the schools that's their only job is to look for those students that need that little extra hand on the back or a little extra guidance or maybe are relatable in a different way from maybe a guidance counselor or something that can really just be an advocate for those children. So I'm excited that our community is moving to this direction. So that was just a comment for you. But wondering sort of, when Chris and I talked about this, Chris, you mentioned that potentially some of these guys will be helping the department throughout the summer months if they don't have enough comp time and all that kind of thing. I'm just wondering what kind of roles might they serve? I sort of have I hope that maybe we could create some kind of continuation through the summer of that assistance from the schools.
Currently, we actually have a few. For one, we had one of the school deputies help direct traffic at longest day of play because he wanted to work. So that was handy because we didn't have to pay overtime or pull somebody off the road. And they often do transports or just work the road or sometimes the courthouse, just any of the functions we do, so.
And there's through the month of June, there's a lot of summer schools at various schools throughout the town. So a couple of guys that have been just working, rotating through those and being available to them, for any response they need. And then, of course, I also serve in the role as the safety coordinator for the school district. So I interact with them throughout the summer as well, through the schools and the organizations.
Okay, because that was one of my concerns is there's, 2 or 3, both the high schools offer summer programming if we could continue on, but I assume so. Thanks.
Squire Tanner.
I have a question and a comment.
All right.
One of the questions I have is the 13, or I guess 6 new deputies, you got 6 now, you're going to make it 13, is that correct?
So, yes, we'll be hiring 7, is that right?
7.
Yeah, okay.
They got to go to
Yes, so-
training?
No, what we will most likely do is, we've got a handful of people in mind already that are in the process, And we also currently have some deputies at the courthouse that have showed interest. They're retired police officers. So this would not be a new hire, like rookie out of the academy. It's just not the right position for them. It takes some, it takes the right person to be in school. You need more experience than somebody that's just been to the police academy. So we'll definitely hire laterals or move over current deputies that we have.
You move and shuffle around, still may have to hire somebody to pull
Right.
that and send
We
them to
will
training.
definitely have to replace the ones we pull out of the courthouse with either court security officers or deputies.
But the only comment I have, I think it's a very positive step and a livability factor for Franklin County. And people who thinking about moving here could look at that as a factor of what, I want to live where we got police in our schools, where I hope that's just part of it, but that's a real positive plus for this whole community.
I agree. Most people that I've seen out since it's came out have been really positive. I haven't heard any negative. There's always somebody, but I guarantee you it overtakes the ones that wouldn't like it, so it's a good thing.
Squire Blackburn.
I just want to point out one thing that I saw. So that you're hiring 7 more, 6 of them the school's going to pay for, and then the sheriff's office is covering the cost of the other, and no extra expense to the fiscal court. I think that's huge, and it's a testament to what you're doing at the sheriff's department.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Mr. Kopp is quite a negotiator, and he, I knew that he was close. And, he has a job just like you all do to control the money, and I figured, one night I couldn't sleep, and I was thinking about how can we make this happen, and I thought, we'll just reassign someone, not bug you all, because you got a lot of things going on, big projects, and I said, I'm sure he'll go for it. So I called Jeff and said, can you get us a meeting, and this is where we're at, so it worked out perfect.
Thank you.
Chris, I also want to kind of piggyback on that because I was in that first meeting
I got a
with
text
Mr.
from
Copp
somebody
and
that
you and some of your team, and I didn't think it was ever going to fly, the way it was being presented, but I appreciate you all working through it, and we as a fiscal court, I think you can all tell that we're very proud of our sheriff's department, and we're happy that we're going to be able to do this for the community.
We appreciate it, and you all have supported us a lot. We appreciate it, and at the end of the day, it's still county assets involved, vehicles, employees, whatever, so we're all part of this. It's not just us. But we
Bartender.
I just got a text, and I'll share it with you. Somebody said we need to correct it. It's the sheriff's office, not the sheriff department.
Because, it is an office due to the election.
I don't understand
But,
it,
yeah. I don't, if you say department or office, it's fine to me.
I thought it was fine too.
Jeff, thank you for what you do. I know you're a big part of this in the schools and kind of watching over everybody, so we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, have a good night. Thank you.
You too, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All righty, from there, we're going to invite our jailer up. He's not coming, he's got Kim coming.
Hello,
How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you all?
We're doing well, thank you.
So what I've got here, this is just a renewal, the contract agreement between the Franklin County Regional Jail, the Franklin Regional Medical Center, and West Kentucky Correctional Healthcare, on the agreement for our indigent prisoners.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Just a quick question.
Okay.
As to how it's determined, how indigence is determined for this type of service. Just that'll help us all
Well, the
understand that.
indigency is determined on, I guess, like through the count, through commissary of what they have on their account. However, I do want to point out that regardless of an inmate being indigent or not, the jail still is responsible for the medical bills.
And so primarily what I'm separating what you said, so it's based on what's in the commissary account? Is that, no? Well, that's how it started, so I just want to make sure I understand that's.
This agreement's with the hospital.
Yeah.
And the hospital will determine if they can make the payments or not. And then if they're not, then they're indigent. The hospital will actually make sure they're indigent.
But the inmate will not make any payments to jail.
Gotcha. Thank you. I just wanted to understand how it was determined, because somebody has to determine that.
Absolutely.
And where they're getting services, I assume. would
Those
be
service, the people
Yep.
providing that service will make that determination.
That's what I assumed, but I just wasn't 100%. Thank you.
That's a good question. Thank you.
Next item.
You got it.
The next item is our, it's not near as exciting as the sheriff. I always have to follow him for some reason. It's not near as, but it's our yearly annual contract with Western Kentucky Medical. And to clarify too, they go by Comprehensive Correctional Care through their new LLC. This contract's pretty much just like last year's. It's a yearly contract from July to July. We made a few changes in our hours. They had somebody coming in part-time for training, and they've made some changes with that. So we went back to the normal hours 2 years ago. We also, we have a little bit of overage this year, which we can talk about now or later in the bills, but we have a little bit of overage, and it's with the overtime of some staff they have, nurses. And also, part of that too, we have some really expensive medical costs this year. We just have some inmates that are on extremely expensive medicines, and then we don't have any choice. So, but back to the contract, we altered the hours by just a little bit, and we added $10,000 to the cost pool, just to try to learn from this overage here. I think we're $7,200 over this year, which we can still pay for we're not asking from the general fund, we're just moving money, correct, Amy? We're just moving money out of a fund that we had extra money in at the end of the year. And it's a 3% increase, which that's how they give their nurses raises, and it's in our contract that we do that yearly. So it's pretty simple. We're still very, very excited to be with Western. They're still providing a great service. Still to this date, they haven't missed a shift, which is huge for me, because we're 24-hour medical. I think I told you all the story last year where we had a nurse call in with the flu about an hour before a shift, and Scott Wilson, one of the owners, flew a nurse from Paducah to Frankfurt and then flew back and picked her up. You just can't buy that kind of service. But we're still tickled with them, and we'd like to renew a contract again with them, and that's pretty much it. I know we got some questions.
Tanner.
I want to apologize first. I want to go back to number 6, if that's acceptable.
That's fine.
And a question about health insurance. If somebody goes to your jail that has health insurance, it's not suspended automatically anymore. Is that correct?
I don't believe so. I don't deal with other people's
So if
insurance.
anybody has insurance and you take them to the doctor, that
Their
insurance
insurance will be
will
billed.
One time it was suspended, but it's not anymore, I don't think.
I don't either.
I just want to have low care, if they have low care, it gets suspended from by the state. Regardless if they have health insurance or not, they don't use that.
They don't use health insurance.
Not when they're incarcerated.
Some Medicaid plans are suspended, yeah.
If they're indigent, Medicaid is supposed to cover that. Does that not work?
It depends on the Medicaid and Medicare. I get confused. But
Well, Medicare is not.
if we have an
Medicaid.
individual.
I'm talking about Medicaid, not Medicare.
If an individual goes to the hospital and gets admitted, then it kicks in and we only have to pay so much. But if it's just a trip for stitches or an upset stomach or something silly, then we're on the hook. Which we try not to do.
Most people won't pay an insurance premium once they get in there very long anyway, but if they're covered when they go in, you're taking them, if they get sick, I'm not, it's always got to work that way. I thought that insurance covered them if they had it. And if they, for example, if they had COVID and had to go to the hospital, if they had insurance, it's supposed to cover it.
Well, I'll double check that for you, Squire, but I believe if it's private insurance, you're correct. But if it's a plan that is given to them, then there's some guidelines.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough to just check on it. The other, I think Squire Sebastin asked some questions about the canteen fund. Do you use any of that money on this Medicaid, medical issues?
Not on those. We use it for other medical stuff. All of our mental health is paid for out of canteen. And I believe our dentist is paid for out of there. I'll double check that.
Okay, that's the questions. I want to go to number 6. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. What other questions? No, Squire Sebastian.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm looking in the document on page 8, section 4, where it talks about mutual rights and obligations. And it says in number 2, it says this agreement will automatically renew at the end of the term with a 3% increase and continue under the same terms and conditions as this agreement. So does that mean it automatically renews for 1 year only, does it automatically renew for more than 1 year?
It's 1 year. We're only on 1 year.
Only 1 year?
We're only on 1 year, and
So
that
we-
automatic renewal will never happen. It'll be negotiated every year. And it also has, I believe, a 30-day out.
It does.
So it's always 1 year. With the, I don't feel comfortable signing a long-term with any medical company, even though I love these people,
Thank you.
so.
And so there will be negotiations.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So, is there, and I may have missed this, is there a clause in the document that regards disputes and forums for the resolution of the disputes? Typically, it's in competent jurisdiction and here in Franklin Circuit. I may have missed it. I may have overlooked it, so I'm just asking.
It should be.
There should be,
It's-
clearly, there's always one
Every
in,
contract I do, we
Yep.
always do that.
but I think maybe I didn't see it.
I'll double check it. If it's not, I'll have him add it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I know, for some, let's see, let me look here at the back, because I've got some kind of question about the physical addresses to be included in the agreement. Why did I say that? I don't know why I said that. Oh, that's under tab 8, that's why, sorry, next tab. That's the only question I had on this one, sorry. So just the forum for dispute resolution, I think I'm.
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it tonight when I leave here.
No, you will, thank you.
If I don't do it, I'll forget. Getting old.
I understand that too.
I'm not as young as Mr. Wisman over here.
Yeah, I think my wagon and my horse is out there waiting on me, probably hungry right now.
Anything else for the jailer?
Judge,
Squire Wisman.
just wondering if you think that cost pool amount is sufficient. We had a average of, what, 87,000 for this last year. Do you think the 70 is going to be?
Yeah, we raised it 10,000
Yeah.
and until this last overage with the overtime, and that overage is from January. Let me make it very clear that me and the owners of this company had a discussion last week about if there's overages from July on, it is monthly billed and detailed. So that was for several months. So if it wasn't for the high medications that we have, we wouldn't even be over at all. So yeah, I believe we're fine, and we have some cushion in the budget line and this contract too, just for that reason, because before we had this company, you all weren't here, we were putting $75,000, $80,000 a year in medical, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I think we're good. I think we've hit the target. I can't promise you that because I don't know what kind of medical issues we're going to have throughout the year. Hopefully none.
I wondered, there's some changes coming in healthcare and medication marketplace specifically, that one site you can buy your drugs at cost online
yes.
instead of through a pharmacy. Do we have some flexibility to?
Yes, absolutely. That's one thing that I love this company. I'll try to get them here soon. One owner is the doctor, Scott Wilson. The other one owns a pharmacy, and that's Blake Wiseman. So anytime there's medications, he tries to get us some type of coupon or a generic, and save us as much money as he can. But sometimes we just can't. So, but he is very good at that, so.
And since Squire Sebastian brought up that will automatically, I'd be more comfortable if that would just say may automatically if there's some reason we haven't renewed a contract. And
I don't like it in there, to be honest with you.
I'd prefer to strike that whole clause, but yeah.
We can take care of that.
Well,
That's all.
that could be concerned, but right up the sentence right above it says you can cancel it 60 days without cause. So if you didn't like the 30%, you could, 60 days, all you gotta pay it.
Yep.
Jake, I think you have one more, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna let her do it.
Oh, okay, perfect.
If you don't mind.
No, not at all, not at all. Just want to make sure.
This is the monthly service agreement for the preventative maintenance contract on our water testing. If you have any questions on that. Okay.
Squire Sebastian.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So the first question, I'll probably throw it to the county attorney, okay?
Okay.
So in a contract, don't the parties have to put a physical address in there? I've looked through this and it has our physical address, but it doesn't state where the physical address of Atom Chemical is. You know, when they sign, you know, president of or whatever, typically chairman of, you know, and it would have their name and title and address and all that. So it's just not, that's not listed in here, and that's just unusual. Every contract I've looked at, it's unusual to have that. So that was a question for him.
If you all want that put in there, I'm sure they don't have a problem adding it.
I'm assuming they're in Indiana because there's a question I'm going to ask about that in a minute too. But if you look at it, there's nothing, not even on their letterhead. No address.
I would agree that an address is necessary.
Okay. Just asking.
Yeah.
So, not necessary. Okay.
The location in which the contract will be fulfilled will be here in Franklin County at the detention center.
Okay, thank you. I'll note that. In section A, number 4, it talks about providing labor, chemicals, equipment to remove excessive scale or deposits acquired during the treatment, et cetera, et cetera. That's a pretty long item, number 4 is. So when I look at section B, which is on the next page, number 10 and 11, it talks about the cooling tower. Is there a reason that they specifically do not want to clean the cooling tower? Because I'm assuming the cooling tower probably holds water for quite some time. So is there some reason that we might want to have the cooling tower put in this agreement or
I can
reviewed?
definitely have our maintenance director get with them and see if that's something
Because
that they
you would
can
assume
include.
that that would hold, you know, water, and I don't know how frequently, how many gallons are in there, and I don't know how it cycles out, but you would, they're pretty specific about the cooling tower not being part of that. So I'm just wondering if there's some rationale for them, for that not, clearly not to be part of it.
Okay, I could definitely look into that. Obviously,
We might just ask
if
the
I,
question.
went out there and tried to look at any of this, I would have no idea what I'm even looking at.
I'm with you.
We've used them for years, and we've been month to month with them.
Mhm.
I know offhand, we've not ever had any issues with the cooling tower.
That's a good thing.
You know, for that. And then this year, they have went up $25 a month, so then they want to do a contract because of the price change. But number 10, I'll ask about.
And I don't know how old the cooling tower is. I don't know if there's something that it specifically is singled out above every other piece of equipment in that water filtration system. That's in here and it mentions it twice.
Okay.
So that just kind of is a flag. Section C, number 5, it talks about disputes being handled in Floyd County, Indiana. Mr. County Attorney, I'd like for that to be looked at, to be changed to Franklin Circuit.
No problem.
Thank
I was
you.
going to say that would be more with the party negotiating the contract than
Thank you.
than with me.
Thank you. Section D, it just says systems to be covered by the contract, colon. What systems are to be, I mean, it doesn't say anything after it. It just says, so I'm trying to figure out if it was supposed to say something.
I'm sorry.
In item D, it says systems to be covered by the contract, colon, and then there's no systems. So does that mean there are no systems to be covered under it? I'm not sure. Under D. So is F the systems? Are they the systems? Or E? Are E the systems?
I do
It's
believe
just
that E are the
confusing how it's
systems.
written up. So I'm trying to be 100% sure that I understand that the systems to be covered are whatever E is. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that refers to that. And it's got our customer name in there. Is incorrect. We are not the Franklin City Regional Jail. No, the city of Frankfurt would like to take over the $4+ million operation of the jail.
Well, that
I'd love to
changes
give
as
it to
well.
them.
That's in that.
We'll have it changed.
Thank you.
Squire Tanner, I believe.
It's just for my information, so I'll have in my mind what the cooling tower is. Is that the air conditioner? Or is that a tank of water? What is that?
The
Just
cooling
for me,
tower,
I don't know what
it is a tank of water, yes.
How big a tank is it?
I'm really not sure, I would have to ask.
Okay, is the hot, it says chilled and hot, is that tank of water hot water and cold water?
There are two.
Two different tanks?
Mhm.
And, okay, so that's the,
So when they come out monthly, they test that water, they check for, like the levels, they check for corrosion, they test for all that.
if you have to, I don't, this contract's not very expensive. It's $1,500, $125 a month. And if those tanks are very big, the reason they don't want to clean them out, it's expensive to clean a tank. If it's got a lot of sediment in it, it's got a lot of, how often have they been cleaned or have they ever been cleaned?
I'll get you that answer. I've been there 4 years, and this is the first time we've had to deal with this, but I can tell you that that water moves through there so much. There's 300 people in there using water, so water's constantly moving. I can't see that it's that dirty, but I will ask Captain Culbertson first thing.
Well, I may not be, but I mean, I know for some experience on large tanks, and this probably might not be large enough, but you get sediment in there pretty quick, and you gotta get a underwater vacuum cleaner to get it out, and that's expensive when you go to doing that. But anyway, this tanks may not be no bigger than a hot water heater, so I don't know. Sorry.
Squire Blackburn.
With the jail, and we recently did the energy performance contract. So all the equipment is up to current standards as far as efficiency and things like that. The hot loop, if I understand it correctly, is the boilers, right? And the water that's being circulated for the heat. The cooling tower is the converse of that. It's the water that's chilled and ran for the cooling. Generally, the heated water is more reactive and has more problems in the system than cooled water. And I believe that's why it's not as big of an issue and problems for a cooling tower as it is for boilers and pumps and tanks, anything running hot water. So, but it would be nice to see the service history of the.
I've learned a very valuable lesson tonight. Next time we have a maintenance issue like this, I'm bringing Captain Culbertson before because I can't fix a sandwich.
Yeah.
So.
I bet you can. But boilers have to be inspected. Your all's boilers have to be drained and visually inspected by inspectors, state inspectors.
And they are.
And so that happens, is that yearly?
Yes.
Because I've been in one, it's not a fun job. So, and the cooling tower is a little bit different, but it's just for understanding of how it works.
Squire Wisman.
I suppose the first question is there a time-sensitive need here? I'm assuming this contract, it just says July 1st at the bottom. It doesn't say that it picks up July 1st and runs for 12 consecutive months after that. So I'm wondering, there seems to be a lot of questions and a lot of things to clarify that we can table this contract till those are answered.
Can I ask a question? How many years has this company worked with us?
Numerous. This is the first time they've won a contract.
At least 7 or 8 years. It does say the condition of the contract, it says for 12 months from the start date.
Yeah. So, for me, if you all could come up with the answers and just maybe send them in an email form, I'm personally fine. It's $1,500 and they've worked with us for many years. I'd like to keep moving forward if that's okay with the rest of the court.
Either way, a relatable question I suppose I sort of wanted to ask is, a few months ago we were talking about that energy performance and getting some feedback on that, and we thought that it was within about a month at that time. I'm wondering if we have kind of a time frame when we're going to see that. There's a lot of water, a lot of utility that moves through this facility that I'm concerned that we need to see how that energy audit is performing, and if we need to take some other action, maybe this company could help us with even to reduce some of those costs.
Clerk, do you know, we've talked about that. Do you know where we are with that? They were gonna come and give us an update. Have we heard from them lately?
I have not.
Okay, can we contact them and tell them that we need them in here to
Yes,
kind
I
of go
will.
over? And I believe you all have been keeping track of things out at the jail, and let's get that up there. That's a good call.
I seen Ryan Baker at the judge's conference, and I told him that we had some issues we need to sit down and talk about.
Okay,
I
yeah.
saw him last week at the judges and commissioners conference and told him we want him to come up here and see us too.
Okay, yeah.
Our energy committee was given the, sort of the contract to review 3 months
Yep.
ago, and with the idea that the next month it was gonna be brought to us to review, so. don't
We'll
want
make a
that to
note of that.
leave
That's
us
a good
by.
call, Squire Wisman, because you're absolutely right. We do have to get them in here. Thank you. Thank you.
If y'all don't have anything else for us, can we be excused?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you. All right, this next one, we're gonna let Deputy Kennedy present. Yeah, I was gonna say, you got the whole gang here.
On this side of the wall, huh? This is how I get credit, right?
He takes credit for doing all the work. This is what happens here.
All
Just
right.
let him go.
Hello, court, judge. So this is the hot seat. This feels good. This is exciting. We're bringing good news to the county. So early on, one of the main focuses and priorities was to find ways to make county government more efficient, run better, more community-oriented, business-friendly, all of those things. And so one thing that we looked at doing from day one was to get all of our services and all of our permits and all of our forms. If you look around, this office is full of paper, right? Every office stacked with paper. And so, talking with the magistrates, talking with the judge, we said, let's get online. Let's get everything online. Let's make everything accessible to our developers, to our builders, to our just our community at large. And so, in an effort to do that, we started looking around for companies that could, take on this type of request and work with us at, of course, the most cost-efficient way as possible. And I think you'll see that in the agreement that is in front of you. First of all, let me introduce, this is Carlos Luna.
Yes.
This is John Russ. Miss Anna Hughes is here. And they are with, you can have this spot when I leave because I will not be here long.
Plenty of room.
They're with Tyler Tech, also Kentucky Interactive here in the state of Kentucky. They are on the state pricing contract, which is always good news when it comes to doing business like this. But they work with many counties. They work with many local agencies, local governments. They also work with the Department of Transportation. And I'm going to let them do all the heavy lifting when it comes to subject matter expertise. I'm not going to do that. But what I'm going to say is we have talked about how can we make the county more efficient, more business-friendly, more user-friendly, more community-friendly. And so my initial conversations with John, and we've had many now, are that we're going to start and go department by department with everything that this county handles, starting with planning and zoning. We're going to take every form, every permit, every fee that needs to be collected in planning and zoning, and we're going to make it accessible online. And so that's what this agreement is. That's what this agreement does. It gives us the capability to accept credit card payments when it comes to building permits, electrical permits, all the way out to Lakeview Park and golf and pavilion rentals and things like that. They are going to develop and build the system for us. And it's kind of, we're going to work together to figure out how those things need to look. And of course, again, they are the subject matter experts, so they will be, giving us a lot of advice on that. But we're going to move along to occupational tax. we're going to move to, you know, like I said earlier, all the Lakeview rentals, road department forms that they may have. Anything that we have that's in paper form, we want to try to make accessible to the community online. And so, like I said, this is very exciting. This is a big initiative for us, trying to move and progress the county forward. And so I just wanted to present that to you. In this agreement, I know how you guys think, and you're thinking, what's this going to cost us, right? This agreement, the only fee that it's in there is a one-time fee of $100 per credit card reader. We've requested 4, 2 for Lakeview and 2 for here in this office to start. That's the only money that's in that agreement. And I'll let them explain this, but they have a processing fee. It's a percentage. It's under 3%. And as they collect payments online, their fees are recovered through the processing fee. So there is no expense to the county. With that being said, and I think I've pretty much covered everything, I want to introduce again, this is John Russ, this is Carlos Luna, this is Miss Anna Hughes, and I'm going to let them take all of your technical questions. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, y'all have anything else to say? And first, I want to thank Squire Sebastian. She kind of, I think, made the connection here with you all, and it's been great. And Jack's really been happy to work with you on this, and it's a super, super important thing for Franklin County. And
So I would highlight, or expand upon what Jack said, is our funding model. So we have a master contract with the state of Kentucky and have since 2003 to provide e-government services. This allows us to work with any government entity, state or local, without you having to go through the RFP process. Biggest benefit of that is our services are self-funded. What that means is we don't typically charge agencies any fees to work with us. What we do is add a nominal processing fee on the select services to help offset our cost of hosting, maintenance, development, security, pay our salaries, Anna's too. So that's when he says there's no cost in this to you all besides those credit card machines. That's how it works. So the rate is 2.95% of the total. That covers all major credit cards. You can accept e-checks or ACH payments, and that's a flat $1 fee that the end user pays. You have the option to absorb those fees and kind of pay those out of convenience. We don't recommend that. Pass that on to the end user so that all this is done at no cost to you all.
All righty. Squire Wisman.
So just wanted to verify that the 2.75 is what's in the contract. You said 2.95 for the credit card processing. That is intended to be an additional fee on top of our base fee. So this is not debited from whatever our fees may be as an in-kind cost to our revenues. Just wanted to verify that. Thanks.
Yes, if you don't want that, I mean, if you want to absorb the cost as John mentioned, then yeah, you could, but.
Well, then you raise your cost and absorb it.
Squire Tanner.
I was in the meeting and did a very good understanding of what's going on, but I do have one question, and I probably heard it before, but sometimes things go through my mind. But can you split that? The customer pays on some things, and we absorb the cost on other things, or does it have to be the same?
And we can split it up. Yeah, as long as it's a different service. So let's say maybe planning and zoning, you want to pass it on, electrical, you absorb it. But
I'm thinking more about Lakeview Golf Course. They might want to.
Oh,
they might
sure.
want to be flat fee regardless.
Yes.
Might not be. I'm just speaking out loud.
Yeah, I think for Lakeview, you might be better off building our fee into the actual cost of the item and then absorbing it that way.
But it's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
That was my question.
Right, every service that we build for you will have a statement of work. This is just the initial statement of work for these services for the.
I think it's the virtual term. This is just a draft.
Right. Also, it's a draft. So we're working on getting that. But yes, so every service that we onboard for you will have its own statement of work. That way you can control the pricing we can split fees. We directly deposit it into your bank accounts. So if you have multiple accounts for different fees for one service, then we can split that out as well and divide it out to the right, according to the appropriate things.
Squire Westman.
A question for Jack, just because we have the public that's going to be watching. This is a great move in the right direction. I can't believe our community didn't have this already. I mean, tiny Podunk, Kentucky has options that we don't have, so great job. But just for those watching, this is not going to replace, or I assume, I hope, my directive would be that we will still have options to pay by check. Property taxes more particularly are always a big one, that you don't want a 3% processing fee unless you opt to do that.
Right.
But we
Right.
will still
Yeah,
provide
folks that want to walk in and still pay with check, there's no fee or anything like that for that. This is just an added service for convenience. So this is just for the people that don't want to come down here or your electrical inspections and things like that, and they just want to handle it online. This is an added service. But we will still collect.
Just wanted to
Yes.
clarify
Yeah.
that no one gets upset that we're moving only to a digital form, that we
You're
can still
correct.
pay your property taxes and otherwise the way you always have.
Yep.
If that's what you want to do, but
Yes,
we're
sir.
providing another option to
Yes,
the
sir.
folks. Thanks.
Squire Tracy.
Thank you all for being with us, and great job. My question would be in regards to like the road department. Someone calls in, needs a driveway culvert, obviously have to pay for it. Where would they be able to pay for that online? Or you referenced 4 credit card readers, one not being, so
Right, so what we're doing is starting with planning and zoning, and the way that this agreement is set up is that then we can add services to it. Right now, we just have to enter into the initial agreement to work with them, and then as we move on to each department, we just kind of prioritize planning and zoning as being the big pink elephant in the room with the most forms and the most payments and the most walk-in traffic and things like that. So we decided to start there, but we'll move to every single department, and then they will tailor it to fit any need that we have.
so they'll be able to pay it online, go in just like I'm buying.
Absolutely, and then we can add a credit card reader for them at that $100 flat fee.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you all very much again for being here. So I guess the first question I'm going to toss to our county attorney, because I think this is just a draft agreement and we've probably got some terms that we want to work through, okay? So the question I'm going to ask is in regard to Section 4, termination. So under that, in A, it says a particular service application can be basically terminated if there's insufficient interest in that application being used by the public. And it gives 30 days advance notice of that. So for example, we may have a little used application, like a repayment of occupational tax. Let me just use that as an example. We don't do it a lot, but we do it. So that will be one that will be not used very much, but it's definitely one we have to have. So how do we work with you so that, because the way this reads, it almost sounds like it's at the discretion of your organization to make the cancellation. So, because I know going into this, we've got one that's not going to be used a lot, but we've got to have it. So how do we work that out?
I've been with this company for almost 16 years. We've never gone to a partner and said, you know what, this is not making enough money, we're going to turn that off.
Thank you.
That is more for your all's discretion. Anytime of any of our services you decide you don't want to use them, you just have to let us know. We ask for 30 days notice, but you don't have to give it to us. We'll provide you with a decommission letter then we'll turn off that service.
And I don't think we would want to turn off that service that I specifically referenced, but it's the way the contract reads. It reads that you will notify us that you're turning off a service because it is seldom used. So I just want to make sure that there's that discussion before that happens, because I know going into this, there's one that doesn't get used a lot, but it's got to be there,
That's
to
more
be able to be.
boilerplate language that covers, we do more than just self-funded services. So
Absolutely.
We do fee-for-service as well. We do SaaS solutions as well. So, a lot of our contracts will have common language, but, it's, to be specific, we won't ask you to do that.
Okay, thank you. under section 6 of that agreement, have you all ever assigned a service away to another firm? This gives the ability to do that. It says, like, no one is coming in and owning the company, but it says that if you are providing services, you may choose to assign that service to some other party. I'm just asking if you've all ever had to do that.
We've never had to do
Never
that.
had to do that. Okay.
Even now that we're bought by a new parent company, we offer now more services under the same master agreement because they are a parent company. So it allows us to utilize other services that the big company offers as well.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I'm assuming our staff, because it talks about in here all of the items that, we would have to use for the business analysts would sit there and work with the staff. We're going to sign this before the business analysts probably get to look at the individual applications.
We've already started looking at them.
But you all, exactly, I understand. And so I just want to make sure that there's that opportunity for the business analysts to, when they sit down and work with the subject matter experts, that everybody's on the same page, whether it's necessarily specified in here or not. Because, we want, just like you, we want everything to work. And if we see something that's not necessarily working, even though it was not captured in this agreement, that we want to I feel like we want to be good partners and work with you to make sure that every service is captured.
Sure.
And we'll be able to do that, right?
Yeah, in the statement of work, we'll define what we're going to build based on those discussions with the staff here. If we get halfway through the project and we call it scope creep, where there's a lot of new requirements that coming in, we'll just do a change request or an addendum to the statement of work to cover those. That way, the final signed documentation explains exactly what we've done based on your requirements.
And we don't push anything into production without your permission as well. So the statement of work gives us permission to do the work. We start the development, we start the work, we coordinate with you, we do our internal testing, we hand it over to you guys for testing. Once you are satisfied with it, then we provide you a letter of acceptance saying, yes, it's
And we will sign at that point.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
when you give
Absolutely.
us permission to go live,
Gotcha.
not at the same date, whenever you tell us.
Yep.
And the good news is we're only like 5 doors down.
I love that too.
Pretty close.
I love that. I love that close. Anticipated risks. I just have a question about that, and I think that's actually in the addendum document. It is. In the back, it talks about planned outages. So can you all talk to us a little bit about planned outages?
Sure.
Because we certainly want those after typical business hours, so that we can minimize any kind of outage. But it also talks about, I don't know, I missed in here like the recovery window, because sometimes there are unanticipated outages, we know that. And then what is the SLA to bring that service back online? Because we want to have it just to maximize that for convenience of everybody's use. So if you could talk to us about those two
So for the
things.
planned outages, we do those off hours, usually over the weekend between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. Now, there are some planned maintenance that the state does that we have to abide by. But we do notify our partners ahead of time, usually a week, and then a reminder a couple of days before that, all right, these services are going to be offline, or the state has a planned maintenance that is going to affect your services. Now, for what you all we're planning on doing for you all, the state won't really come into play. It's more for the county clerks and their vehicle registration goals.
Okay.
But anything that we have planned, we will notify all of our partners.
Okay.
I'll let you discuss the unplanned.
Yeah, so with regard to non-planned maintenance and outages, we do have an SLA agreement, I think. Have they signed that yet? A service level agreement?
No, that's also part.
So there's a service level agreement that is subordinate to our master agreement, and this is subordinate to the service level agreement.
Okay.
And so what it basically says is we need to be up 100% of the time, with the notion that there could be planned outages and to be up as soon as possible. The good news is we have redundant solutions.
Okay.
So that we're if we go down for whatever reason, we can migrate over to a different data center. We're moving over to Azure as well in the cloud. So
Okay.
right now, the services that we provide for you, by the time they get developed, will more than likely be in the cloud. They'll be geographically redundant as well. So we'll have minimal, if anything. And then because it's in the cloud, the maintenance for the actual servers themselves don't require that much downtime because we just switch off one, turn on the other, so on and so forth. When you have physical services you have to maintain, it takes a little bit more effort to do that.
Okay, thank you. That helped quite a bit. And then I think I just have one other question. On page 9 of the piece in the back, there's the fee chart. And my question about the fee chart is how often do, like, the service fees get sent back to our party? Because let's say something doesn't go through. So
Okay,
what happens at that point when it doesn't go through?
If there's a return
Yep.
or a dispute of a charge, which is going to happen.
And it will, absolutely.
We do not take funds out of your account. Instead, we will net that off of a future deposit.
Okay,
So if you have, let's say you did 10 transactions today for $100 apiece, you would expect your deposit to be $1,000. One of those was returned, so instead of sending you 1,000, we would send you 900.
got it.
But we will never go in and pull funds out. We will only deposit.
And you have access to the reporting system.
No, that's perfect. You're hitting all the notes that are important, I think, for the body to understand.
You have access to the reporting system that allows you to see what that deposit was and what made up that deposit and what didn't make up that deposit. So it'll say this one was netted off because of a chargeback or a return. And so you'll be able to run those reports.
Excellent.
And if there's a chargeback,
Thank
we will dispute that on your behalf.
Okay, excellent. Thank
And
you.
if there's a question about a transaction, it's our name and phone number that shows up on their credit card receipt. So
Their name.
they'll call Hannah. Well, your name, our number. So they'll call Hannah and she'll handle it.
So we're the first tier support for all of our payment processing. So if anyone has any questions to a payment they see on their credit card or ACH statement, then they'll see your name, frankly, the court, and then they'll see our telephone number. They'll contact us. We'll field that question. If it's something we can handle about the payment itself, who the payment is for. Sometimes they don't know because of an acronym or because of a naming convention that they don't recognize. Then we'll tell them, oh, this is for such and such. And they're like, oh, okay, no problem. Once that's done, if they have further questions like why is my license not working or why is it expired, then we refer them to you. Become the second tier support at that point.
That's excellent. Thank you all very much. I know that the weeds, unfortunately, are important in this.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Squire Wisdom. Two more questions. I'm wondering about the ability for invoicing, particularly through maybe a planning and zoning department where fee structures might be separate or road departments. Is there an ability, is that part of our future outscope?
Yes, absolutely. So as John described, we can do self-funded or we can do invoicing where you absorb the service fees. And then we would invoice you at the end of the month,
And with our unique structure as a fiscal court and reviewing all the financials, could you speak a little bit about refunding and how that process works? It's one thing if the golf course needs to refund a transaction that they had to cancel quickly. Another thing entirely for someone requesting a refund of a portion of a culvert, for instance. But
So go ahead. We leave that up to you. We give you access to the payment engine that has a permission for refund capability. So if for whatever reason there was a duplicate transaction, because it can happen, it is electronic, certain things get glitch or something, and that happens. If that happens, then you want to refund that one of those transactions because it didn't actually. They only need to pay once. So you have access to go into the payment engine and then refund that, and then you track it in your own system as well after that. And what that'll do is that'll put the money back on the user's credit card or payment type, as well as pull the money back from another future deposit, and then make sure it gets back to them.
So we need to set up some internal protocols per department as we're unloading or onboarding everyone about what those are and what we can and can't.
Yeah, and you can also do partial refunds. We're talking about Lakeview. They accidentally charge $2.50 for a bottle of water instead of $2.25. You could go in and refund part of it.
And finally, my last thing is just if you could speak to fraud protections a little bit with your processing systems.
Sure.
So we are audited regularly. So we are PCI compliant. We have to adhere to all the PCI payment card industry standards. We have those reports if you need to see them as well. We can provide them to you. We provide them. Some agencies require us to hand them over every year when we do those. But we are constantly doing security. We always have security training at all of our staffs. Anyone who works for any of our, sorry?
It's constant.
It's constant, yeah. Every now and then we have a security training. But we are very security compliant. We do PCI. We also do what's the third one? SOX. SOX. So anything, if you have any questions about any of those security, we can provide those documentation for you.
That's just generally clarifying for, the public a little bit more that, the fraud and access to our digital persons is so much of a concern anymore with these things. So being a brand new process and a brand new opportunity for our community, I want the community generally to understand that this is to the level of any other financial center.
Absolutely. And our master agreement requires us to do that as well.
And for reference, in 2022, we processed 5.6 billion transactions for the Commonwealth for over $8.7 billion.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think one of the other things we talked about in the committee is how quickly this could go online. And I believe we were thinking month and a half, 2 months, I think.
So we do an iterative approach where we kind of start with planning and zoning. We just need to know which forms you want to start with.
Yeah.
We'll start mocking those up. We've already started, just pick some. We'll take about 10 days to get the bank set up, and then get the documentation signed. We'll build it out. You all will review it. We'll test it, and then we're ready to go. But a month and a half tops.
Perfect.
And if you have multiple banks, it's about 10 days per each bank. It's just, so if you give them all at the same time, it's 10 days, but if you give them sporadically, then.
Yeah, once we have the signed statement of work, we'll start the bank setup process, because we haven't done that to the bank setup.
Yeah, no, I think this is an exciting time for Franklin County. I think all of us in this room know that we need to get up to the age, and this is a very, very, very important thing to do for our community. So we appreciate you all, and I look forward
We're happy to help.
Look forward to working with you, and like you said, you're right down the street, so that definitely helps.
Thank you, Judge.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thanks. Come on up, Chief. How you doing this evening?
Doing well. How's everyone else doing?
Good.
So for this item, as you're all aware, the fire department has a fire apparatus, a pumper budgeted for this upcoming fiscal year. We're trying to be proactive and going ahead and trying to find trucks that are available out there that could be purchased to go ahead and speed that process up, because right now lead times on trucks are 2 to 3 years. And the whole goal of this is to try to separate 2 trucks that are coming due at about the same time in 2027. So our goal is to get this one replaced in 2024. We've talked to some vendors who are out there who have some trucks that are already in the process of being built, but they're early enough in the stages that we could still make alterations to meet our needs. And we can do that. We've through using a cooperative purchasing contract through Sourcewell, which we've done. That's how we purchased the ladder truck, for those who are on the court that recall that. So what we're looking for is basically it's like going to a car lot and then having to go back and see if you're allowed to buy it, and then going back. When you go back, it may be gone. So we're trying to get permission to be able to find a truck, and if we find one that can meet all of our needs, we can work with the judge's office, and any agreements that come forth or contracts, we can have the county attorney review those just for clarification, and just be able to secure that truck so that we don't get to a point where that truck's gone when we go back to try to make that contract assignment. One thing about this is if we do sign a contract on a truck, no money is exchanged, no down payment or anything is required. It's basically a net 15 or net 30 terms. Once we receive and accept that truck and say it meets all of our needs and it passes all the inspections, then we would be responsible to make that payment. And we also presented this to the Strategic Planning Committee on Monday during that meeting to discuss it with those committee members, and they were all in agreement with bringing it forward to the court.
Squire Tracy.
You referenced 2 to 3 year wait on vehicles, but then you said they're in the early steps of being built, but you'd like to get it in 2024.
Correct. So I've talked, some of the vendors I've talked to, they have trucks that we can make small changes. We can't make major changes, but the trucks that they have coming down the line meet our basic needs. They have the 1,500 gallon per minute pump. They have the 1,000 gallons of water, 1,000 feet hose bed. So there are basically a lot of similarities with the trucks they're building. It's just some minor detail changes like changing one compartment to hold, hard suction versus, ladders, just the configuration of some of the minor details.
At the last meeting, I asked the road supervisor about ordering the equipment that was approved in this upcoming budget, whether it be the mow trim or whatever, and was told I think he was told we didn't think we could do that, or that we were going to look into it. So it's okay for them to go ahead and order that knowing that it's in the budget for next year or for this upcoming budget?
If the payment's not gonna be due until that budget year.
Okay.
And depending, it may even carry, if it's late 2024, then it'll carry actually over into, fiscal year 2025's budget, but.
Okay. So would it be, I guess it would be to the road department, is that something that you all could go ahead and start looking at? Because you all got equipment that's gonna be pushed back too with demand.
Yeah, I think he was looking.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief? All right, thank you, chief. I'm gonna go ahead and make an adjustment real quick on our thing. I'm gonna go ahead, I noticed our librarian's here, and I was wondering if you'd like to come up and speak on item number 24, because I'm sure that's what you're here for tonight.
I was just coming to check, but I assume that 24 is the appointment of our board member?
It is. Can you just talk briefly about kind of how that works, because, just so the court knows, and we still have a ways before we get there, so I saw you sitting there, so welcome.
Thank you for taking pity on me. I find it fascinating, but, I'm getting hungry. You're going to hear my stomach growling pretty soon.
Do you know everybody?
I believe I have met most everybody in some fashion, so.
Perfect.
Yeah. I am Jean Rourke. I'm the director of the Paul Sawyer Public Library. So the appointment process is really important to us. It happens, and it's by Kentucky state statute, and it means that the board sends names to the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives, and then they put those names forward to the Fiscal Court. And the board is very careful about who they choose. They're people who are good standing in the community, who are obviously library supporters, but who care about what the library means to the community as well. And most of them have served in an advisory capacity to the board for at least a couple of years before they're nominated to the board, before that nomination goes forward. So it's up to the Fiscal Court, the judge executive with the approval of the Fiscal Court, to appoint any board members to our board. And those are 4-year appointments, and there are 2 consecutive terms is all that they can serve. And then they have to cycle off the board. So before you tonight, you have nominations for Carolyn Lynch and Connie Crow. Carolyn is our current board president. She's served 1 term, and she's done a fantastic job. So. But Connie has served as an advisory capacity on our advisory board. She would also be an excellent candidate. But the continuity would be nice to keep with Carolyn. So do you have any questions? Did I cover that succinctly enough?
I think you did a perfect job.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Should I ask a question?
Mic on, please. I keep getting texts saying, they're not turning the mics on.
Sometimes I forget. But anyway, was there a statute change recently on
Yes.
how a board member is appointed?
Yes, there was. Senate Bill 167 was passed in the legislative session in 2022, and it went into effect in January of this year. So the change is twofold. It could stay as the process has always been, as I described to you, but with a resolution by the Fiscal Court, that process could change. And the process by law would change to, this still is the recommendation for the 2 members put forward by the board or by the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives. The fiscal court and the judge could deny those two, ask for two more nominations, and then those would be put forward by the Kentucky Department of Library and Archives again, and the fiscal court and the judge could deny those two, and then they could appoint whoever, the fiscal court could appoint whoever they want to.
Thank you. I thought I remember that statute being changed.
It is.
But thank you very much.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn. Thank you.
So the recommendations before us tonight were recommended by your all's board
Yes.
and vetted by
Vetted
the
by-
library and archives?
Yes, vetted by KDLA.
So
Yes.
there's no surprises for you guys in this?
No, there are not. And they are vetted to make sure that they're eligible. They meet the eligibility requirements by statute.
I keep telling Mary Lynn Collins every time I see her, she better be nice to us, you know? So, perfect. Seeing no questions, thank you very much. Just
My
wanted to go
pleasure.
ahead, saw you sitting there and thought we'd go ahead and move you up there.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, Robert?
Good evening, Court. This is the second reading of an ordinance pertaining to a zone map amendment request of 4.996 acres of property located at 209 Devil's Hollow Road from rural residential B district to industrial commercial district. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, any conversations within the court? I believe Squire Wisman, this is your area you represent.
Can I ask what the recommendation of the planning staff was for this change, zone change? Can I ask that? It's in the
That
record.
should be contained in the documentation that's been provided to the court already.
It is.
So if you would like to read that, I would hesitate to let Robert read that. Like I said, if you want that read, that's been provided to the court in advance.
Does it make a difference who reads it? Okay. I can't find it offhand, so we'll just pass on. No other questions?
Any other things to talk about with the court on this zone change? It is the second reading tonight. Squire Wisman, were you wanting me to wait? I'm not wanting to move on if you're looking.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Squire Tanner, you okay?
I have no question.
Okay, just want to make sure. Kind of gave me that look, so I wasn't sure. So,
I was just trying to help him find that page, but it didn't seem to.
I'll wait if y'all want me to wait.
It's okay.
Okay. All right, Robert, thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen, welcome back up.
We got our salt bids in. We had 3 of them. And I don't know if y'all remember, but last year's salt per ton was $121. It's gone down quite a bit. And we'd like to go with Morton. We've used them the last couple of years, and they've been really good about getting the salt when we need it. We had the lowest bid, we had that company a few years ago, and we had a hard time getting salt in, if y'all remember.
I was gonna ask if you
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
describe that relationship.
Yeah, elaborate
So
on that.
if you
And-
would just elaborate
Yeah,
as much as you can possibly on that to help.
Yeah,
enlighten
the
the
lowest
court.
bidder we had a few years ago, there was a few times we almost ran out of salt before we got it. You know, sometimes it'd take almost up to 2 weeks. But this Morton salt, the one we've had for the last couple of years, they've been great. I mean, sometimes we'll call them, and sometimes they'll haul us salt the next day.
Squire Blackburn?
So you only have so much salt storage space. So, because, I've heard some people, why don't you get all the salt you need? You can't.
Yeah, right.
And if you have 4 snow events in 2 weeks, you're gonna have to order new salt, or more salt. So that's an important thing to understand.
Stephen, how much salt are we currently sitting on from last year?
Probably around 1,500 ton, probably,
And
somewhere in
then,
there.
assuming we build the new structure, that will be able to hold how much?
The new one,
Correct.
5,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you all think, so in your budget, sorry, Squire Tanner. So in your budget, how much do you have, do you know, budgeted for next year? Because I know we don't have money probably in there for 3,500 tons.
Yeah, I think we've got budgeted 2,000 tons.
Okay.
Yeah.
2,000 additional?
Yeah.
Okay, plus you still
Plus-
have
plus our
1,500, so we'll be
1,500
sitting on
we have
35.
Yeah.
And the average winter is about 2,500, is that correct?
Yeah, give or take.
Okay. Squire Tanner.
Where does Morton salt come from?
Well, they shipped to Lexington, and Lexington shipped it to us.
One more follow-up question. Do you ever loan, borrow, or salt from other counties or municipalities?
A few years ago, we got low, and we traded out with the state.
With the state.
Can I just add that a lot of times we've been really blessed by the relationship we have with the state for a number of things. There'll be times they'll step in and help us when we can't get to certain things. So that relationship is gold here. And I'm hopeful we continue that
Yeah, we've got a good
really
relationship
good working relationship with them. So, thank you.
I'm going to ask our county attorney a question. Is there any problem if we do not take the lowest bid?
Is it? It's up to us.
I'm just wanting to make sure. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Squire Wisman.
I'm wondering if, you sort of elaborated on it a little bit, but if you can inform us where the lowest bid is shipping from? Was there something in the past that caused delays?
Well, we were told, the company before, when we had trouble with, it was rail cars. They had trouble with that, and that was what we were told.
Would make sense. But I'm, we don't have, I would like in future if we could get all bids before us to review when we have something to look at, because I don't have anything except for Morton's here to relate, so I'm, having to ask those questions, or at least I don't see it, if you could correct me, but.
As far as the per ton price of each?
No, what the actual bid certification, was. We just have a number. But I was wondering if there was any other discrepancies or any other external factors other than price that might impact that. Location would be, I would think, the primary one. Was that coming from Ohio or?
It may have been from Chicago. I've got it on paper here, but I think it's shipped in from there, I believe, to Lexington.
Squire Tracy.
Stephen, so I just want to make sure I'm right. So in your opinion, or professional opinion, in past dealings with these, let's say 1 and 2, and your workings with those, you feel like the best bid is number 2?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I mean,
Due
because
to shipping delays and past working relationships?
Because, when you have a big snow and, we try to stay on it pretty quick to try to get them to truck it in. I mean, they are, like I said, I think they brought us 100 ton like the next 2 days after we ordered it. Having it on hand is the biggie, when
I know I've listed them as 1 and 2, but there's no numbers on them, but that's
Okay.
just how I did it. So,
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Stephen, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. All righty, anything to talk about? I believe we talked about the health department contract in the work session. Is there anything else y'all like to discuss as far as that? Seeing no further discussion, we're going to move on and welcome Amy tonight. How is Amy Quatman doing tonight?
Good. So we have the second reading and the approval of amendment number 2 to our current budget. And I didn't include in your paperwork, but I do want to mention it. This amendment will increase the budget by $6.5 million, totaling $54.1, and excluding our capital expenses and federal projects, it'll be $30.2 million.
Alrighty, questions for our treasurer?
Amy, could you relate just what our anticipated income is then, based on that 30.2 as expenditures?
This amendment will bring it to 54.1. But I'd just like to give you those numbers. The 30.2 is just taking out any federal projects and capital improvements. Does that answer? Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Amy, next.
And the next is the second reading and approval of our budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. The first reading, after the first reading, this went to the Department of Local Government for approval, and it has come back approved, and now it comes before you for the final approval.
Amy, I just want to commend you and the committee. You know, I think we've met 10, 12 times. Court's met. I want to commend all the department heads that really took the time to see what they could do with and without. I think it was a huge exercise for us. I do think the fiscal court is being fiscally responsible, and I just appreciate the committee and you and all the hard work, because we put a lot of time into it, and I think everybody took it very serious, and it was well noted. I'm glad to see that we're here. Anybody have any questions for Amy on this? All right, thank you very much. Next.
And the next is budget transfers to our current budget. And this is to correct some of those lines that were over budget. Some of them due to our cost of living increase in January. And so it's rather lengthy, but this should get all of those accounts where they need to be.
Squire Tanner.
Can I ask a question, Amy, about your occupational tax refunds, which is item 015047567?
Yes.
Is that refunds to companies or individuals?
It's companies, is that? Companies.
Pardon?
Companies, business.
Excuse me. Okay, so is that some of the rebate money that we owe?
No, that is on down 3 lines below the tax abatement line.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. Golly,
And-
man, I ought to read the whole thing.
And that, the one that you're referring to was one company that had made estimated tax payments. And then when it was completed, they did an extension, and when it was completed, they asked for the refund because nothing was due.
So that's the occupational tax refund, not the
Yes.
tax abatement? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor, Judge, if I can.
Squire Westman.
Just wondering if we have any anticipated outstanding revenues. There were a couple of insurance issues I remember that I haven't heard that have been resolved. If there's anything else that we anticipate coming in that we need to,
I do. I still have some jail revenue that will hit, probably some sheriff revenue as well. It is possible we might have some insurance proceeds come into. You're right, we do have a few outstanding.
okay, thank you.
Seeing no further, Amy, let's keep moving, please.
And then the next item is cash transfer. And the road fund, jail, and fire fund, these are budgeted, And those, even though we have one bank account for all of our funds, we still need to keep each fund. We need to have the money in that fund. So this is just making that final transfer for the year.
Any questions?
One question in my mind is on the road fund cash. So the 225,000 number I see over there, is that transferred in there? Is that the name, isn't that the same number of the truck tax money or whatever they call that, truck license fee, whatever, from the trucks?
I don't know, but it's not because of that.
Pardon?
There's no connection
Okay.
there. That's just what was needed for
That's
that
just
account.
what it was, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's your lottery numbers tonight, Richard.
That's it, what it is.
All right, Amy, I believe you have one more, correct?
Right, and this is the treasurer's report. Our last meeting, you all had seen the numbers for May, but these are after I did all the reconciliations. So the very last page shows each fund balance, the receipts as of May 31st, $30,667,895. Expenditures, $30,648,883. Giving us an excess of $19,012. And you add that to the fund balance, and it gives us the fund balance of $22,596,661. And then I've got also attached the revenues and expenses as of June 16th. We're close.
So Amy, help me here, and I'm trying to remember, we are going to have a special meeting, is that correct? On June 28th?
Is it the 27th?
7th, 28th?
28th.
Yeah, so to clean up any things that are still left out there for the end of the year, so.
Make everything zero.
Make sure everybody knew that. Any questions on the treasurer's report? A question, or is that just, okay. Amy, thank you very much. All righty, we're on to payment of claims. Kim, do you have anything to talk about, or are you just fielding questions?
Just questions.
Any questions for our Ms. Kim? No questions? You're all still looking really hard, so I don't want to move yet. I know as soon as I do, they're like, ah!
So where are we? We're not the hero. This one.
Yeah, you're gonna go to closed session, if everybody's good here.
Oh, I thought I lost out somewhere.
Everybody good? Alrighty. Next is authorization to go into closed session per KRS 61.8101F, discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The court is now heading into closed session. Thank you.
us home.
Do I have a motion to return in open court?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Let's go to other business. Does anybody have any other business?
I got, go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead.
You were quicker on the draw.
Oh, it's all right, I can be last, I don't care.
Go ahead, Squire Tanner.
After reading some things in the newspaper and observing the General Assembly for the last few years, I really think it's pertinent that we think about hiring or contracting with or looking for a lobbyist to help Franklin County. Our needs are specific. We have general lobbyists, which is CAECO and the Judge Association of Magistrates, but they lobby for overall benefits. They can't pick each county's, and they don't do it that. They'll lobby for cheaper insurance rates and other things, transportation issues, et cetera. But when it comes down to what Franklin County needs, they can't do that. They can't do that, but we have to take care of ourselves, and it's a thought out there. I know it would cost a line item of professional service probably in the budget, and we don't know how much money, but I think we should consider it between now and when they come back.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a wonderful idea. What's the mood of the court for that, to look into some lobbyist, talk to lobbyists, and then bring it back?
There's several firms, pick 2 or 3, whatever. I mean, there's a process y'all want to go through.
Squire Tracy.
I think it's just kind of echoing from Squire Tanner. I do look at it like it's a two-way street. Obviously, you've got lobbyists that specialize in lobbying the legislators, and then you have others that lobby the executive branch and that. So I think that has to be looked at. And I think when you're looking at Franklin County, you got obviously sewer, water, broadband. So I definitely think that it's something that needs to be looked into. Again, it's going to be a professional services line item that's under you. So I'm all in favor of it. I think Squire Tanner and I've talked about it several times. And again, I think somewhere down the road, we also have to look at some other special projects that have happened in our community that need the questions need to be answered in regards to the legality of them. So I'd also hope that people would look at that, maybe if we are going to put additional money in that line item, that we could look at doing that as well.
Perfect. Everybody good with that? We'll start looking into lobbyists.
Perfect. I support that idea, and in conference last week, some discussions there going on. I think it's pertinent that we start thinking about our own assets, of course, but also, there's potential for, let's say, bourbon-producing counties that we are one of, that I think we could have an eye towards a consortium of an agreement amongst the counties to lobby on our behalf. We're all hit hard, or going to be hit hard by loss of revenues, and a lobbying agent perhaps that represents all of us and someone individually, maybe that's the same person, maybe not. And I also think that ties in quite a lot to the idea of all of the communities that abut the Kentucky River. Those are two of our primary assets that we could have some mutual benefit amongst multiple communities by sharing the lobbyists perhaps, and some of those ideas keeping in mind as we explore who might represent us. I think is critical. The city has multiple lobbyists that they've engaged with in the last few years, and I think just an announcement last week has shown the effects of that. So critical for us in the future.
Thank you. Squire Blackburn.
I've got a kind of a special request for you. I know on 421 Leestown Road, the Kentucky Department of Highways widened the road, had 4 lanes in there to help with the flow and the traffic, and then DHL, and then we've got the industrial park going in there. We've got a lot of development in the area. We've got several neighborhoods going in. Some of them have turning lanes, some do not. We have 3 schools in the area. We have a daycare. As you get further out 421 towards away from Frankfort, at Duckers, all of the mailboxes for all the residents that are on the left side of the road or on the right side of the road. And a lot of these folks are older in age, and they don't like walking across the highway to get their mail or trying to stop their vehicle in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. And, you know, you got the trucks with DHL coming in and off the highway. Like I said before, the turning lanes going into these neighborhoods that are existing. I don't know if you've been to any other turning lane, they're longer. They seem longer in a 55, they're shorter in this stretch of road. So I've had tons of requests, I've had lots of accidents. So I'd like to ask you, if you're agreeable, to write a letter to the District 5 Kentucky Highway Engineer to see if they would consider it and do a study for slowing the speed limit to 45. I think it's a safety issue, it's a huge safety issue. And I think it just make that stretch of road safer and just for the residents and the people traveling.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
And all the way to about Journey Church.
I'll get with you if it's okay.
Yes.
As I'm writing it and send you a proof, just because you
Because
know.
I've talked with the postmaster about the
Okay.
mailboxes. The postmaster's not wavering because their carrier comes from Woodford County and they're coming out of Duckers and taking a right. So that's not going to change, but maybe we can affect the roads.
Okay.
Well, I agree with you, I understand that, because in the last term, I reached out to the postmaster because someone was killed on Evergreen Road. Not in my district, but I've had a number of people call me about getting the mailboxes there where they don't have to cross the road. And I think that happens in a number of areas. So if we could put a letter together to the postmaster just to see, because when there are, because of a lot of the bridge work, Evergreen Road, Green Wilson Road, those roads have been used as through roads now for semis and other traffic that should not be on those roads. And I have a lot of senior constituents that are, and people sending their kids across to get mail, and cars are flying through there. And I'd really like to bring that back up, to have a mailbox in front of your house rather than having to walk all the way across the road to get it.
Okay.
And that is a very huge safety issue.
So is that on certain roads or?
I know it's on Evergreen. I know that for a fact. Because I've had a number of calls after someone was actually killed on Evergreen Road.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say-
Crossing over to get their mail.
I'd say any road over 45,
So,
45 or over.
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. Squire Tracy?
Judge, I'd like to piggyback off what Squire Blackman said as well. There's several state roads, rural state roads that I've got, whether it be Jones Lane or Wood Lake, or that are posted 45 and probably should be 25, if truth be known. I don't know how much the speed limit sign and lowering it's gonna help, but by lowering it, you're gonna give the sheriff's department a better tool to enforce that speed. Because there's so many roads out there that doesn't have any guardrails. They're, you know, it's just,
No
and
shoulder.
yes, and they just absolutely fly.
So if you all, I'm happy to do this, obviously, but I'm gonna need some guidance, because obviously I don't know all the roads you're talking about. So if there's a way that you could individually send those in, maybe I can highlight them on a map or something. We have a really good field rep. He was on a house out Ball Knob the other day about a culvert problem. So maybe it's even just having a meeting with him. That's pretty easy to get. And then maybe he can take it and see where it
I
goes.
spoke to him at the con.
Okay, perfect, yeah. But I'm happy to write letters to the higher ups also.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll echo that. I've had that complaint in some areas as well, and it seems to be primarily occupied to the hamlets, the denser development that are on these state highways. The old state highways go right through the middle of multiple ones of these earlier developed neighborhoods that we really probably need a countywide evaluation of those arteries that are being used as major highways.
Okay. Squire Tanner.
Has nothing to do with the road. I think I got several I could ask to be changed, but they're not gonna change them, and so there's no need I understand the big picture too. However, there's something that was mentioned a couple of meetings ago, maybe by you, Judge, I can't remember who did, but I don't know, there's a lot of money involved with Franklin County. How much interest we're getting, do we get any? Should we look at banks? Should we look at, is all of our money in one bank? No, we should ask them, maybe we should negotiate for a higher interest rate right now while they're pretty high. I don't know what we're getting. Maybe we're getting as high as you can get. But anyway, I'd like for sometime maybe Amy could explore that, or somebody could, you could, somebody.
Yeah, we had talked about that, but I think she was really, between trying to fill
Well, right now,
for
you probably
other
wait till all the
positions we
budget's
haven't been
done,
able to
yes.
hire yet,
Yes.
plus get this budget out and things like that.
Yes.
But that is gonna be one of the things that she works on, and I'm sure the finance committee can kind of, help guide there also. But yeah, no, it's definitely, needs to be done. I would agree.
The sheriff done it several years back. It was just,
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting, amazing, really.
Yeah, a lot of things have
Difference.
changed now, yes. Anything else on the other business? I need a motion to open the admin code and direct the Administrative Services Committee to meet and recommend changes to be brought back before this body.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. We will do that. With no other business, we're going to head into the voting session if everybody's good with that. Clerk, please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn. Squire Dykus. Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Tanner.
Here.
Squire Wisman.
Present.
Judge Mueller.
Present. Let everybody know, item 23 has been removed. Item 2, authorization for approval of minutes from the special joint meeting of June 6, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for approval of minutes from the regular meeting of June 7th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to accept county attorney's cold check, expenses, fees, excess fees for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021 and June 30th. That'd be 2022, is that right? Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve a memorandum of understanding between Franklin County Sheriff's Office and the Board of Education of Franklin County to provide school resource officers SRO services.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve an agreement for providing health care to indentured prisoners at the Franklin County Regional Jail.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve a renewal of the inmate health services agreement with West Kentucky Correctional Healthcare LLC beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve an agreement between Atomic Chemical and Franklin County Regional Jail for preventative maintenance and monthly service.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve an agreement with the Kentucky Interactive LLC and Franklin County Fiscal Court regarding credit card, debit card, and ACH transaction processing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization for the fire department to enter into an agreement to secure the purchase of a fire apparatus.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We're going to do a roll call on this one. Second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the table of special ordinances, Section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances for a 4.996 acre property identified as PVA map number 049-00-00-020.00 located at 209 Devils Hollow Road from Rural Residential B District RB to Industrial Commercial District IC. Clerk, please call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Do we have to have a motion, don't we? From someone? We didn't have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right,
We didn't have a motion or a second.
Okay.
Did one,
Do I have a motion?
so moved?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I didn't receive any phone calls that asked me to, I guess give special consideration to this. So with that and with it passing out of the Planning Commission with a number of comments that were on the record there, and conditions, I'll be a yes.
Squire Blackburn,
I personally went out there and looked at it and reviewed the minutes from both meetings of the Planning Commission. I believe it was, what they were wanting fell into a different zoning. I'm a big proponent of the comp plan and how it falls and how we plan out what we do. But for this one, I agree with the Planning Commission. I'm a yes.
Squire Dykes,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Tanner,
I likewise have had 0 calls either way, yes or no. So seem like everybody must be satisfied, and now I'll vote yes also.
Squire Wisman,
No.
Judge Mueller,
No. Motion passes. Authorization to award bid for de-icing salt to the best bidder, Morton Salt, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve the Franklin County Health Department contract for preventative services for all county employees, including firefighters, physicals from July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Second reading and approval of amendment number 2 to ordinance number 5-2022 relating to budget for fiscal year 2022 to 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Second reading and approval of an ordinance related to the budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Authorization to approve budget transfer fiscal year 2022 through 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, did you get that?
who's second?
Simultaneous.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Authorization to approve cash transfer fiscal year 2022 through 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Claims. Is there a motion to deny payment of any claim? Seeing none, let the record reflect claims are to be paid. Authorization to hire Matthew Wilburn as light equipment operator.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve appointment Caroline Lynch to Paul Sawyer Library, Public Library Voting Board with a term ending June 30th, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
All right. Time to quit.